evening and welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Backstage Pass. You have joined us on a night that's a special edition. We have an amazing guest and an amazing co-host. You may know me from, I'm Vince Edwards. You may know me from a couple close roadie groups I have on Facebook, one called Death by Lowdown, another one called the Backstage Pass. And also, I work at Sound Image. Come by if you ever need anything. With me this evening is a very special person. You hear me carry on about her almost every show in one way or another. I've gotten so lucky, guys. I have a treat for you. It is the one and only love of my life and the owner of the business Slow Fiber, Jaqueline Canterbury. Hello, honey bunny.
Hi.
It's my Jackie. How are you, darling?
Fabulous. Better now.
It's so nice to have you on this show. You've always been nice. I love that you guys have made a little community and the comments.
Hi, beautiful people.
Yeah, she's the beautiful people person. This you guys can see this adorable creature I spend my free time with, and I'm lucky enough that she lets me. What have you been up to, honey? Talk to us about. I wanted to tell them about how your special contribution. You know, when we started doing this, about the same time. I think you were before me a little bit.
Barely.
Just barely.
Yeah.
You opened up. You made a change in your life. You had this big business this concern that you ran for many years, and you got away from that. You sold your part of it, and you started something that you really love, something you feel from your heart. My girl is a creator. She's a maker, and she makes really cool things. And so tell us about your business, Slow Fiber.
Thank you. Okay, so Slow Fiber, I probably spent my entire life like cultivating this business in my head. I'm a maker and a mender, and one of my best friends calls me a woe manifester.
Yeah, that's true.
But
manifester.
Woe manifester. Yeah, I have a store, and it comes with a classroom, and I teach how to, as it relates to bringing the arts and home economics together into one place. You know, we have a human history of making our clothing, and that's all changed so much in the last 200 years.
Yeah, very strange.
And so as a result, we have an environmental crisis that's associated with it. And so in my universe, we sell the supplies you need and the education you need to be able to get back to the kind of grassroots approach to getting dressed. And I buy, sell, and trade like a bookstore or a record store in people's personal yarn and fabric stashes so that we keep things in circulation instead of manufacturing constantly. And so, so I'm kind of like a thrift store, but beautifully curated and specific to fabric and yarn.
That's well said. Yeah, you have the specific mission of trying to be. I'm not sure the world knows that the fashion industry, or we could say the creation of cloth that leads to clothing and so on, is I think considered the second largest polluter in the world.
That's right.
At this point, where we used to send
After oil.
clothes after
oil.
oil. We used to send by the tons clothing to the continent of Africa. They now can't even accept them anymore. Most of that stuff just goes into their dumps and causes
They burn it as fuel.
Significant environmental impact to them at this point. So there's a bunch of world stuff going on that makes it crazy. But your approach to small footprint, and I have to say, we built shelves for you and done all kinds of stuff to help.
Like a date.
I'm in love with you, you're a sucker. Bring my tools every time. Your place is fantastic. I don't know anything about the fabric business and all these intricacies of the whole thing, but it's much like our business where there's 1,000 things that go into it, all these little adapters and doohickeys and thingamabobs, and just imagine from yarn to thread to buttons to a crazy cool amount of fabric you have, different kinds of fabric, series, things from all around the world, but responsibly resourced, I think is the unique part about it.
Yeah.
And so, it's a beautiful concept, and you're doing a wonderful thing over there. And how the classes you've been offering going? I know that you have one about meditation and.
Oh,
how's that one? I know
I
that's
started.
very successful.
COVID really did a number on all of us. You know, I opened up Slow Fiber 5 days. I had been open,
right,
and the entire state of California was shut down. And you and
it was so weird.
You were with me the whole time, and like the kind of incredulous place we all found ourselves. You guys especially, you were the first ones out and the last ones back in.
Right.
We all had to shift and find another way, and so I started making masks. I think over the course of 8 months I made, so that I could be considered, what did they call us, the essential worker, yeah. And I could keep my doors open, so I sold fabric and thread, and I made masks. I did 1,500 in about 8 months, and I'll never make another one again as long as I live. I hate them. I hate them.
Wow.
At this point, but needs must, right? And you don't open a business with the idea that you're going to quit, you know.
No.
So I.
You've been able to transition over to the
Yeah,
classroom.
yeah.
And,
So now we're allowed to meet and gather, and a lot of
Internet
people are
sales.
doing Zoom, and I'm working towards doing online Zoom teaching. It makes me a little sick to my stomach to do it.
what's the
But
fear?
I'm working on that.
Is it just fear?
It's fear, yeah.
Oh, you're
but
gonna
this,
be
but
good.
this idea that stitching heals, being like those of us that are creative, we're able to weather the pandemic better than others because we've got this second set of skills that help us deal with anxiety and fear, and that's to create. And so I started a class called Meditation, Hand Stitching, and the Elements and Principles of Design. And the class fills up constantly, and it's an in-person thing. I'm thinking about maybe putting an online component to it. But what we do is we go through the biological process of running needle through thread and what happens to us as creatives, where the anxiety comes, where it drops off, the things that we do to cure it. So I'm able to bring all these elements together to do something as simple as put needle and thread and fabric together in sort of a curative way. So that's been kind of a fun thing that's come out of, I mean, if there's any positives that can come from, world diseases spreading, it's that, people start digging a little deeper inside of themselves to see what's going to fix.
Yeah.
And that's been one of them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, you got a great shop. It's you guys got to stop by. It's in Monterey, California.
Or go to slowfiber.com.
Yeah, you guys, you do a good business there.
Yeah.
The internet sales, and it's a great page. And there's also a newsletter you can get, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
And
That's right.
It's really, really well curated and some great information. And it's a beautiful shop. There's more stuff than you can imagine. It's actually kind of extraordinary. Yeah, I'm always blown away when I show up and on everything that's going on there. It's extraordinary.
Thank you.
It's very neat. What else you got going on, baby?
Well,
Thanks for coming on the show.
this is so fun. I'm really nervous,
sweet.
and then I forget that I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, you're totally going to be okay.
Thanks for having me. This is really fun. But we do have some notes, some things to take care of. So we want to say thank you to Sean Quackenbush
for being on the show last week.
Yeah.
Now, guys, I'm going to give it to you straight and give you the skinny. We are doing this show right now a few weeks ahead of time because my guest is a touring mix front of house engineer, and we were lucky enough he was visiting, so we threw him in a chair. He's basically a captive, and so by the time this airs, Quackenbush will have been last week's show. Of course, he's with Brandy Carlisle and many other accomplishments. A great mix engineer. He's also on the road, but he's coming into us for that show, probably whatever that is, the end of July, the last Thursday of July. So we're just going to say hi in advance and thank you for him being on the show, since this show will air the week after we interview him.
So,
look over there, honey.
Oh.
Look, it's a salty dog. Hi, Snoopy.
Hi, Snoopy.
William
Thanks
Snoopy
for joining
Farquhar.
us.
I always mess up his last name, but that's a Snoopy. He also owns his own WFA Audio. He's a badass. He's in the house tonight. We've asked him to be on the show many times. One of these days, we'll get lucky enough to have him.
We could tie him to the chair.
We want him to be comfortable doing it. I'm sorry, I interrupted you, honey.
Oh, that's okay. Maxie Williams just finishing up with Five-Finger Death Punch.
Max Williams is out. He's in Budapest right now, and he just went through. Maxie, I saw what you did in Paris. That was crazy. I bet he took 200 photos of the Louvre, of the underground necropolis. All the dead stuff, the 5 million body bones, basically from 5 million burials. He really fell in love with that place. I get it, but. Yeah, he's just now going to be wrapping up Five Finger Death Punch's world tour, which he's seen and done on this one. I know he's misses his family, so we're
from what I understand, traveling overseas right now is really challenging. So
crazy.
Good luck to all of you that are out needing to do that. You know?
They're great, and I think they'll be glad to be home. I think they did around 40 dates in probably 20 countries. So they're tired.
Yeah, that's a lot. Pooch and Tater. With Iron Maiden.
Yes.
Greg Rideout is with Sum 41.
That's right.
Chopper Kovich is out with Tesla. Mike Perkinpine with Testament.
That's right.
And Kyle's going to be home soon.
Kyle will be home soon by the
He's
time
with
we air
Brian
this. I would
Wilson.
think the 11th show will probably be with Kyle. That would be lovely. We miss him. We'll have a few more shows with Bernie between now and then.
Hi, Kyle.
And Bernie's always a great substitute and amazing. We thank him so much for his contribution. Kyle, we miss you, buddy. And all those other people that my wife just named, we know you're getting off tour right now. We know that transition can be tricky. I certainly used to really struggle in the transition of coming off the road in that first few days. So we want to wish you love and know that the house is all under control. You know, keep it easy when you come home. Be good to the people that you love. You know, it can be tricky for us. I know it always was for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that was such an. We had a conversation in the car on our way to lunch about how hard that to come from these really high highs back to reality, like the transition.
It can be
Yeah,
a
I
straight
think
up
a lot of people
smack in
doesn't
the
occur
face.
to people that. I mean, we all know that transition and change is hard, but you guys actually live it. You live transition, and it's impressive that the way that you can change gears. You develop a really strong muscle in that area, I'm sure, over time.
Yeah, so you got to, and this job isn't for everybody, you know. Some of us, and you need to know when to step away from that part. That's one thing we learned from last week's show with Danzer. Danzer was at the top of his game. He was infamous, past notorious for who he was and what he did. And in '99, he said, you know what, I want to fish more. I'll go run the union, my local, and do that 2 weeks a month. And 2 weeks a month I'll fish, and 2 weeks a month I'll work. And he came out of it, and you can do that. There's choices that you can do to, you know, get around it. Then you got people like Greg Price, who this very moment is somewhere in Eastern Russia, making 60,000 people happy with the biggest band in the world, Metallica, and he's 74. Or how about Dave Morgan, he's on hiatus right now, but he'll be out in the next couple of weeks with the great James Taylor and Jackson Brown. He's 74 and still got an ear it's fucking incredible. So
Artists don't retire, you know, they change gears, they you know, some people leave their work and they don't really fare that well, but the nice thing about being a creative person is that you don't retire, you are your work, you know?
Yeah. And men don't do well with retirement. You got to find that's pretty much the fast track to the graveyard. You got to be real careful with retirement. I love you madly. I'm glad that people got to meet you finally and understand why I'm so crazy about this girl. She's not obviously going to be on Commons today because she's right there. But tonight we'll have somebody take care of him for you when we do the show and we roll it out. Thanks, guys. Crazy about you, honey.
Love you.
Thanks for being on. I love you too. Okay, guys, remember, by the way, if you like this and what we're doing, please push like and subscribe. It helps with the algorithm. Tonight we have a really special cat, man. I'm doing a show in the middle of the day. By the way, if you hear a bunch of noises in here, it's because it's a working shop. I've got people loading lighting rigs behind me and building 2 shows on the other side of me in audio. So thanks for being patient with that. This cat we've been knowing him for, I want to say 30 years out of the San Francisco scene. He came up totally fair and square at wonderful houses. We've got some of the most, in my mind, some of the best venues in the world, especially in this country. He started out at Berkeley Square. He went quickly on from there to be the go-to guy at the Fillmore and the Warfield, those places could talk. It's the history of rock and roll in a nutshell. Many, many acts in between. He's one of the most sought-after mix and tour engineers. I think his sweet spot is monitors, if I'm not wrong. You go either way?
That's a loaded statement, but as someone said,
I see you hitting from both camps, brother.
If it hits the bank account,
right. If the check clears, he's saying. If the check
part.
clears. His work with artists is, most recently, is Lionel Richie, TLC, Mariah Carey, Pitbull. The list is friggin' enormous. A bunch of fun stuff. Third Eye Blind and a bunch of other guys. I'm going to also ask him about his working with the awards show scene. How are you doing, my friend? It is the amazing Lorin White.
Thank you, man.
Now,
It's such an honor just to be here after, watching, again, those aforementioned people you just said, just the heavy hitters, man. I mean, just the heavy hitters. And I'm just, just a guppy trying to swim upstream here.
That is very sweet, and I appreciate the humility. It's funny, Danzig was on, just like I said last week, or a couple weeks back now is what it will be, And he was completely from the other side, you know. It's like, I'm supposed to be here, and in there's heads like that. And I love the humility, but dude, you wouldn't be up here. We wouldn't be talking right now if you didn't have an incredibly rich and impressive career of working and making great things happen in rock and roll. But I wanted to, and so thank you for being here. We appreciate you.
It worked out, really, you know. Like you said, just timing crazy.
Yeah, totally. This kind of worked out really good. And I appreciate, you know, you giving us your time and the extra time it took to get our stuff together today. I gotta ask you, now I'm hard pressed to go. I'm struggling with this. Help me out. We're doing this for the first time. How'd you get your start in the industry? Oh, but I like it better. The question, maybe I'm wrong. Or how would you describe what you do for a living? How would you
How would I describe? Oh, see, because again, it goes back to, am I out front or I'm on stage with the artists? You know, I just try to say, whatever position, I'm trying to make people comfortable and happy. You know? Because if an audience are uncomfortable and they're not happy, you're gonna hear it. You know, it's like, they may hear their tunes, but you're peeling their cap back, or they're not hearing the proper thing in the mix. And then the same thing with the artists. If they're not happy and, you know, too many looks, you know, side of stage, and you know, not really smiling. So I just say I'm just trying to make people smile and happy and have a good time.
Well, as a monitor engineer over a front of house guy, and I know you do both. You have both credits. Do you have a preference for one or the other? They're very different jobs.
You know,
they work in the same gear, but to a different outcome.
I mean, it's definitely a different swing. I mean, we all know, you know, the cats who do it know it. There's people who love to stay front of house, who love to stay monitors. For me, I think every other artist, because there's some artists I've done both, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I really love with this artist being in front of house. Sometimes I love being at monitors with this particular artist as opposed to, you know, either or. You know, it varies on the swing. You know, it really varies on the swing. You know, if you get along with the artist, the band, or the entourage that's on stage, it could be just as good a time as being out front of house. I mean, you're making, like you said, 60, you know, 1,000 people excited.
120,000 ears.
Yeah, you know, you're just like, okay, that's cool, but is there a disconnect, you know? And I've always tried to, even when I'm at front of house, try to have that really good relationship with the artists on deck. You know, and that's another side of it. You know, you're not their monitor engineer, but you're their front of house engineer. And it's like, okay, am I translating what you're putting out? You know, and then that's what it is. You know, I can make myself happy with this, but it's like, okay, there's what the fans know, right? And is the artist being true to the album? That's one thing, because we know how that changes. And so if they're being true to the album, then I'm trying to translate that album. So if someone says, hey, I want a little something different, then okay, am I translating that? And I try to go back to them and say, hey, come out, take a listen, you know. Is this translating well for you? Because, my take may be slightly different. So if they're happy with it,
well, what's your process if you were going to be front of house, say, for Third Eye Blind? Is your process that you would get to know their studios, what they've done historically, kind of get an ear for it? I mean, I know there's a couple of different minds on that. We have a couple guys in the house here. We just mentioned Greg and Brad Maddox. Greg will stay with, he was going to do Disturbed, so he stayed with that for 3 weeks. So it just Disturbed over and over, just breaking it down off of some stems. And then, but Brad shows up, man. When it's time to rehearse, he shows up and he builds it from there. You know. Well,
back when I was with Third Eye Blind, I met those dudes in the studio at Toast, because again, outside of the Fillmore and Warfield and other local sound company, like I did some studio stuff in between. So that's where I met those guys. I knew Orion from back in the Fungo Mungo days, again, Berkeley Square, where I started. And
great stuff.
Let me just interject this. So my first tour was with Chuck Mosley from Faith No More.
Really?
So that was my very first tour, and doing the TM front house thing. What a great performer, man. I mean, he's outside of the Faith No More thing, and unfortunately we didn't get to complete that tour. Someone fell asleep at the wheel, wasn't me, and Chuck broke his back, and luckily he was able to walk like a couple days, later after surgery, and we just never got to do that. But just coming across over to the Fillmore and working with like the great Chris Cherokee, you know, and Paul Majeski, you know, those guys just trained me and the crew, Captain Stubby and all those guys, you know what I mean? Like taught me to be a stage, you know, guy in the truck, you know, so again, outside of the audio thing, those people of growing up in the Bay Area, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's just.
This is a sweet spot to get trained up in. There's a lot of old school pros. They aren't quite as harsh as some of the, say, down south fuckers. Some of the southern guys, there's some different things.
There's a different vibe.
Different hazing rituals and such. But the name's Cherokee and so on.
Yeah,
I mean, Cherokee. What about Biancalana? You know? You know, just like
man. You know, we still tag each other. You know what I mean? They know what's going on. Listen. I try to get back, try to pop in there whenever I'm back in the Bay, and you know, that's just home to me, man. I mean, Nathan Harlow was one of the guys that brought me over in the first place, really. And I used to mix for his band, Release, and then those guys would come, like all those cats would come and see Release, and they go, oh, he's a mixer. Okay, let's get him, you know, really, you know, in that situation, and that's how it really got going for me here. So now go back to, again, so the tie-in with Third Eye Blind was me going to Skywalker out of college and filling in some stuff with then Craig Sylvie, and I worked for him. So he owned Toast, and him and Jakir King, just great guys, you know, studio mixers and producers, and Jakir's killing it out in Nashville right now. And so anyway, the Third Eye Blind thing came up, and he goes, hey, this was Steven, came up, hey man, I hear you mix front of house, you know, mind mixing one of our you know, kind of, I think it was like a pre-album kind of gathering here in the city, back in a club on Soma that now doesn't exist, you know. It's so sad kind of going over there. But anyway, we did a couple shows, front of house, and then Derek Featherstone pulled me in to go and do in the interim before they really released the album, pulled me to go and mix monitors for Tracy Chapman, you know. And so that got to be really interesting, you know. It was a great gig, different dynamic from Third Eye Blind to that situation. And then
very talented woman.
When Third Eye Blind came back around, I took a rig in, and the guys, you know, they had seen me in a while. They had since gotten Joel Lonke, amazing front house engineer.
Airplane guy.
And so they had asked me to come back as their monitor engineer because they're like, I was one of the few guys that they liked. So, and, you know, I kind of bit it on the ear because at that point I was moving back to the front of house. I'd just come, I think, off of Machine Head or something like that, mixing front of house for those guys, and was really, you know, again, that's where my world was. At Fillmore was really, you know, front of house, and and Nathan was on monitors and stuff like that at the time. So, you know, that's where the happy home was. And then I'm like, okay, once I got into the thing about working with artists and finding out what they really need, other than just the throw and go monitor mixes, you know, where you're on tour. So it, you know, that just kind of worked out there. Where, you know, we did a couple runs together, and then it was just time for me to move on to the next thing. You know,
do you feel like you thrive in the monitor position?
I've been in some situations where it's like, I kind of stayed a lot longer because they were really happy. Maybe I wasn't necessarily happy, but I stayed because, you know, the entourage was good, the interaction with the artist, you know, say like, you know, I stayed till the wheels fell off, you know, where I could have jumped ship because I would get the calls, you know, but I was never that guy to just go because that call's coming in, just go up and leave, you know.
Sure, you found some natural conclusion.
Yeah, so I stayed a lot longer in some camps that, you know, like I said, so the wheels fell off. You know.
Yeah, no, I understand.
You know, you got the call and. You know, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to be that guy. I don't want that to be my thing, you know. Like they just left it. He just left us in the middle of the tour because he got the bigger call. I could have gone that, you know, jumped up and did some different tours, you know.
Well, with that said, what kind of criteria do you use to pick a job? Like, if you got a couple conflicting offers, how's somebody win?
I definitely have to be kind of like wrapped up on the previous, kind of tour, and if it doesn't look like they're going back out in a while, as much as Lionel wants to sing, I think I'm going to be there, It's just a great gig,
Yeah.
The tunes alone just kind of keep you there.
Yeah.
Well,
he's got at least
just
20
hit
we
after
can all
hit after
sing.
hit. That's another thing. The technical side it's great. I love it. But
Good boss.
when you're just in the music, and I'm mixing for that guy, I don't know. I'm smiling. I'm dancing. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, it was, he had when we were in Iraq the last time,
Yeah.
a weird fact, his lady and a bunch of his, really well known, his greatest hits was the #1 album in the country at the time. And it stayed that way for like 6 years. It was kind of a trip. Yeah, like when we export it, once in a while, the actual good stuff makes it over,
Yeah.
And Lionel's known for doing a lot of private shows. And how do you like working the private versus the public shows?
Like just the private gigs themselves?
Yeah.
Okay, because there's a twofold there, because there's the corporate kind of thing.
Sure.
Where it's corporate with like artists, and then there's the corporate talking head kind of thing. So that whole swing, right?
Yeah.
The private gigs, those are great.
It's always
once you get past, okay, there's always going to be some kind of technical aspect. Okay, you're going to go in here. It's not a normal venue.
Yeah. Might be some gear challenges. Production.
Luckily for the writers that I create, and when I get called in, so like when I got called in for TLC, my production manager that we worked together before, Mike Morabito, he called me. He goes, "Hey, I need you to come in and make sense of this. I need to bring consistency to the girls. So I really want you at monitors, not at front of house." I said, "Okay." I said, "Mike, here's the thing. Back me up on this, because I'm going to change the writer to Digico." I said, "Because you're asking me to bring consistency in an inconsistent world, right?"
Yeah.
So if I go that route, and again, with that, I would just say this about the Digico platform is that I can go from an SD7 full-on band, numerous outputs going everywhere, to an SD11.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Where it's just like,
producer board.
well, they say the girls, it's like the girls in tracks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And still have my sonic quality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that is big enough for me, because I'm at least bringing as much consistency as I can to the artists in monitors as possible, Obviously environmental and those things and stage dimensions or whatever, but at least I can give that as close to possible, that sonic quality.
Yeah.
And those girls were they, like, I would have to kind of remind them sometimes, whether they came to sound check or not. Hey, today you're going to hear the slapback, because guess what? There's this wall that's there. It's only 150 feet away. And yesterday we were at an outdoor shed where, we're in front of 70,000 people, and the PAs, it's nowhere near you, and you're on a thrust. You know what I mean? So I would have to kind of remind them something like that. But as far as, the core quality, that was the thing that can bring it. And so I think once I started, this is years ago when I kind of moved to Miami and got into the Latin market, is when Matt Larson came out and showed us the Digico platform, and I just fell in love with it instantly. And I got it with John Takata at front of house, and then started doing some things there. And I just said, this is going to be my rider. This is like, I'm not going to go XYZ console, because the biggest thing I think is, especially for this platform, is you can get it everywhere. So if you say,
it's
"Hey,
widely available," but the SD
well, here's this, yeah. So
Quantum,
you say, okay, yeah, but I'm saying there's the SD series, right, at the time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have an SD5, you got an SD10. Oh yeah, we got an SD9.
Yeah.
So again, I could do that accordion thing and still have, you know, the functionality of those sonics, right?
Well, on the uniform,
you know what I mean?
I think that you're talking about.
Yeah,
Continuity,
yeah,
consistency.
and that's what we're trying to do is bring consistency in an inconsistent world that we live in. You know?
So does that? Would you say you lean like super heavily towards the Digico land to exclusion of SSL or
yeah, I mean,
fucking Avid or anything
yeah,
like
I mean,
that?
you know, I've sat.
What did you think about the D Live?
Well, again, you know, all those things have a great sonics to them. Everybody's got, you know, come up a long way, right?
Yeah.
But can I get that in Dubai?
Probably not right now.
Exactly.
Maybe the SL.
You know, yeah, right.
Maybe
but it's a struggle, right? It could be a struggle. So you know what I mean? Like I got Digico in the middle of a desert in Saudi Arabia recently with Lionel. You know what I mean? So, you know, I remember one gig with TLC, and they were like, "Well, we don't have Digico," and I said, "Okay, where are you located?" You know, and I called, and like the next shop was like just a town over. Guess what they had? They had an SD12 ready to go.
You make them sub-rent one.
You know, and the guys goes, "Hey, my guys don't know Digico." I go, "Hey, man, tip it, get it power. I'll plug it up.
I'll do the rest."
Yeah. You know, and then my artists, hey, you know, they were happy, and we kept pushing. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
you mentioned that you've done a bunch of work in the. For the award shows.
Yeah.
And I know you've done the Latin Grammys, the Latin Billboard Awards, and worked quite a bit with Univision.
Yeah.
Talk about, are you bilingual?
I have my moments where if I'm, here's the thing. No, here's the thing.
Some good
when I'm not like fully gringo tour and I'm back home, I'm better at you know, kind of Spanish audio, you know, and I can get it, you know.
Like combat audio.
Yeah, it's combat, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do immerse myself when I'm usually back home, and then I get on the road and hardly no one wants to speak it with you, so it's like, you know, there's
follow what you
you know, the typical, you know, the phrases.
Like, I know you've worked with Ricky Martin. You've done John Cicada. I'm not sure if he would he be considered Hispanic?
Yeah, he's Cuban. He's Cuban American. Yeah,
that's so Rico, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, because where you heard him in the context is. No, so when I left
for you though, a good lane.
Yeah, listen.
Those shows are huge. I mean, I know this.
Absolutely huge.
Bring it.
It was a market I never envisioned coming up in the Bay Area under Metallica, Journey, and you know, just all those, you know, that sound, right? Mm-hmm. So getting over there when I moved, because you know, I met my wife in Jamaica with Third Eye Blind actually, and then when I moved, I was actually working with this cat out of Australia, Darren Hayes, used to be a part of Savage Garden, and so I moved over there, and like one of the first gigs I did over there was with Ricky Martin's engineer, Rafi Alkins, and that dude, we just instantly like hooked, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to bring you on the road with me." So I was his basically monitor assistant, and then he mixed for Ricky, and I mixed for the band. We were in Paragon P2, you know, kind of just doing this thing, you know. So and then so he pulled me in, and then he was monitor engineer for John, and then put me in front of the house. And then there's another Latin artist, God rest her soul. She was amazing. Her name was Soraya. She was a Colombian artist, but lived in Miami. And she's the way I equate it, and I'm not sure if anybody else, but she was like the Latin version of like a Sheryl Crow. Could play anything, amazing vocalist. And I love her so. And unfortunately, she had the big C like one too many times and didn't make it out of the last one. So, you know, but it was a market I never just envisioned really, right? And then get over there. So, you know, working with those Latin artists, I just got a chance to work with Univision, and next thing you know, it's like they say, "Hey, we want to pull you in and, you know, jump on Latin Grammys" when they took it over, and so just stayed with that, and then from that just led into actually my daughter being born and me kind of like backing off the road, and Univision said, "Hey, we have this gig in the studio," and I just got immersed in a couple of their shows in the studio, and then
broadcast mixing.
Yeah, but I was mainly like in-house, you know, in-house PA guy.
No shit.
You know, and I, you know, because I wasn't fluent in Spanish, I just wanted to stay away from the A1 position. But there was great people that I work with there.
Yeah.
And so, I just dialed in and try to keep them happy and not, blow up their spot inside, but, give it healthy energy inside the studio, but then not, cause problems for the A1. But so I did that for a while, before really getting back on the road. But John and Soraya and even the Ricky thing, again, it was like Weekend Warrior stuff. So again, still afoot in live and on the road, but kind of being a dad, at the end of the day, which was great because I was like, you were just talking about like that transition of, 6 months, 8 months gone and then coming home and going, I don't really know this family, this family doesn't know me. And,
It's hard.
how many honey-to-dos do I have to do before things are happy, keeping the Home Depot, home deposit, I should say, account going, the repairs and stuff around the house.
I fully know. I was relating to my wife, my gal, that, for me, I used to just come home and be a prick for not intentionally, but that's just how it seemed like for the first couple of days. And I look back on that with regret. But there was just some weird thing, man. I was just trying to get the reins back. It's the only thing I can think of is get a handle on things and get it back in line. But, I think it was probably a little bit of that nomad thing.
Yeah.
It was like, just want to be back out there doing nothing against the family or the housing. It was just this weird pull.
Right.
And,
I saw that very thing of, speaking to cats that came through like the Warfield and the Fillmore. Especially the Warfield, because you're coming in with everything.
That's right.
Fillmore, you kind of bounce around the club to club, right?
That's right.
Kind of thing, but coming in with the full-on racks and stacks, and then doing the Shoreline, and you're just watching these guys, and I would talk, some you just befriend, and they have families, but you could see it's rough.
It's just one step up from Carney's,
Yeah, exactly.
There's just a thing.
Yeah.
It's a weird. It's hard to get our heads around. I know there's lots of little roadie clinic in Georgia.
Yeah, now. Luckily they do. They've got that. It's amazing that they've got that. Speaking of that very thing during COVID, we had so many friends that just didn't make it back.
Yeah, it was.
You know what I mean? Really
weird.
rough times.
Yeah, they were not
during that.
Well.
Yeah, and I tried to stay connected myself to all my friends and just reaching out to everybody as much as I could. And, we joke about tacos in the road or whatever, the whole thing. But, it was a tough thing, it was a tough thing to at a point, even I was like kind of checked out. But, who brought me back was like my daughter. I can't let my daughter see me go down that edge of it, where you said we were the first ones, nixed and the last ones to come back. I mean, I signed with Lionel, I did one show and the next day they said, we're loading out. And
that board right there, you can see that job board where it's got every single one of them that's got a show in it.
Yeah.
That was like that all the way to the top that week.
Yeah.
And then slowly just started erasing them.
Yeah.
It was weird, man.
Yeah.
And then my girls just opened up this neat little boutique.
Yeah.
It was just
again, you said for the soul, you're talking about that, and as creatives, and that's what we do. That was another thing for us. It was really hard as engineers and technical staff. That was our creativity, doing our thing,
That's right.
and to not do that.
Yeah.
And so I'll give it just another thing I'll give to the guys at Digico, because I was one of the lucky ones who got the, get a little time with a console at home, during this time.
That's pretty lucky.
And sit, it afforded me to sit with I tracked Lionel's mix, the one show that I did, and I just sat and I immersed myself in it. Yeah. Whether I kind of approached it like this, okay, monitor mixes for him, the band, and then worst case, if I ever have to fill in for the front of house guy, okay, how would I approach the front of house thing with him too, if I ever got that call? Because I kind of got that call once when the guy got sick, and I go, hey, can you come, because our guy's, not doing well, whatever's going on. I mean, he's back now, but can you, because, when they met me, I was with Mariah at front of house, and so we were on tour together, and
Yeah.
You know, the guys were like, hey man, we need your number just to keep it, you know, in the loop, keep it in the family if possible. So yeah.
Well, let me ask you about that.
Yes,
Mariah
sir.
Carey, you've mixed for Mariah Carey. You know, one of the top singers in the game, in the world. She can do weird shit with her voice that most people just can't even get their head around.
Yeah,
It can be damaging to sound systems.
Yeah.
And has been known for being very particular about her mix, and she's got a huge group of folks around her that are real careful.
Yep.
How was your experience working with the great Mariah Carey?
For me, you know, when I got the call, so again, it was one of those interesting calls. I was wrapping up a tour because it was the first tour since my daughter was born was with Jesse McCartney, a friend of mine. We were on Hillary Duff together. He goes, hey man, I really need you to do this tour. I said, how long is the run? And it was like, you know, it was like 5 weeks with that one, right? And I said, hey man, I got to talk to the other boss, because he was also known as my other wife on the road. Yeah. So and him and my wife always talk every once in a while. So I was wrapping up that, and then I get the call, hey man, what are you doing? I go, I'm wrapped like last week of this, and then I'm going to hightail it home. He goes, no, you're not. I need you to come to Atlanta. He goes, we're going to do a rehearsal. I will call your wife if I have to, because he knew my wife too. Yeah. And then, you know, you get like 2 weeks, and then we're going to go do a 5-week run in Asia. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's see how that all works out, man. So long story short, go to rehearsals, and it was Mariah Carey. And it was a brand new band, the first band that she really allowed to have like freedom with the music a little bit.
Wow.
And so we were all kind of new to her world, and so she just kind of, I think, took that as, here's this rejuvenation kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. And allowed us to do what we just needed to do without being just looked at, oversought, you know? Yeah. Like her main guy was Michael Richardson, who's been with her for a long time. He's like a tour director. I just remember this, like he walked by me and we were in Asia, and he just gave me the nod, like, and he just looked at the PA and he just goes,
high praise.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it's high praise.
Yeah, you know, and I just go, okay, I must be doing it. Because you,
especially for
minimal. Yeah, I mean, put it like this: someone who's heard everyone mix for him before, and I'm not saying anyone did anything less than me. I'm pretty sure people did amazing stuff, you know, amazing. Because again, there's amazing engineers for me to follow. Going, okay, how can I improve this? You know what I mean?
Too.
You know?
Yeah.
And my thing was this: the fans came to hear. If that woman was chewing gum, you were going to hear her chewing gum. That's how I approached it.
You're right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if she was. Yeah. Now there's fans blowing at her, there's fans screaming at her, you know, literally into the microphone. You know, we had to make some microphone choices. But I go, you're going to hear her chew gum. Because you know, no one came to hear the kick drum. No one came to hear the snare. Yeah. None of that. Yeah. You're going to hear that lady whistle. So, you know, there's the good whistle days, there's not so good whistle days. You know?
I heard her hit some notes that are like, you know, blood curdling.
Yeah, like, yeah. Like, listen, man, I mean, the first time in Japan, I you know, because whatever happened in rehearsals, we were just mainly down in the band. She stopped by, listened to some stuff, and was like this. And, you know, I heard her in Japan for the first time in front of a crowd. And I was just like, you know, just chills. Just chills.
No, she's a pro.
You know, chills, and then the hairs are up on my back going, I better get this right. You know?
Not much of a sound checker, I understand.
Yeah. There was a period of time where it started to happen again. And this is some, you know, I would say.
Not cool for a front of house guy.
No. But you know what? Here's the thing. I did a couple different things. One was like one of the background singers had a range close to hers, but nowhere near. And then there was a tech I had who could hit these odd frequencies. And a good friend of mine, he's still a great friend, and he was 6'7". So he would get you to closer to the underhangs, and I go, yeah, if you can hit that note, and that's not taking a solo,
Yeah.
I think I'm good. So like,
Right.
you know, if she's gonna sing down here today, you're gonna hear it. If
Yeah.
she's gonna sing out here today,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
You know. So it was you know, it was a great time to be with her outside of some managerial things that almost cost her career.
Well, you know, that was
and then it
always
cost me to move on too.
She was when
Yeah.
she married to Tony Mottola for the longest time, basically the boss at Sony, which is, you know, kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And you know, during that time, I pitied whoever
Yeah.
worked in that camp because that was ruthless shit.
Yeah.
At the same time, they are no longer a couple, and he is otherwise doing other things. you
Right.
know, and
This is a little later than that. This is.
you were after.
And I have to put this out there. Okay. When the thing happened in New York for the first Dick Clark, that was a interesting choice, not her choice, not our production people's choice, for us not to be there.
Was it
And,
Dick Clark?
and I would say this, because I really have to say this though. There was a lot of people, a lot of engineers, who said stuff in comments that I couldn't comment to. And I go, I know what your people do, but you don't know what she was listening to in the middle of
a million people.
Yeah, exactly. Things bouncing off the wall.
people.
The woman's looking at the video.
Yeah.
Only the people on the ground knows what's on. Yeah, man. And I couldn't comment on it. Dude, you know what I commented on? I just said, don't know nothing. I checked in at my house in Miami.
Yeah.
I said, I'm here with my family.
Yeah.
But I saw the list of comments go on, and I was like, everyone needs to stop.
There's memes, dude.
Yeah. Oh man. Listen. But I didn't really take offense to anyone who's outside the business. But the people in the business, I was like, wow.
They should know better.
Yeah. You guys shouldn't be
Toughest gig
commenting.
in America.
Yeah. You
Literally,
guys know
once
better.
a year, the toughest gig in America rolls around.
Yeah.
And it's right friggin' there.
Yeah. You guys know better. And I just kind of stayed silent. So I had to kind of get that.
Well,
out
you know,
there.
the up front is going to take the heat, and the small-minded are going to make it real simple, like it's some simple thing. And
Right.
we both know that it ain't never simple
No,
when you're doing an international broadcast to millions and millions of people in front of a million people.
Right.
In the most blasted out,
Right.
frequency-soaked, just, my God.
Exactly.
Awful.
And the whole thing is
awful.
She's never, you know, been one to be direct in an answer, right? So you gotta kind of know Mariah speak.
Yeah.
And guess what? The core team that was with her understood Mariah speak. So we weren't there. So whatever happened.
Yeah.
And it's you know, luckily Dick Clark, Dick Clark, organization came back to her the next year. Guess what? Our team was there. She had a great show.
Yeah.
She had a great show.
Like I said, pro.
Yeah.
Traditionally, historically, pro.
Yeah.
Shows up, rips the place, the roof off, just destroys everything.
Yeah.
Everybody falls over themselves in love and on to the next place. I mean, she's a badass in her own right. I mean, her record, I think she's the largest selling Christmas sales.
Oh man,
right? Like
that woman is Christmas to a degree. I mean,
crazy,
you know, when you're walking, you know, down the street in Japan and
just her,
you know, you just hear it
Japan,
coming out of the
love
exactly.
She's
you
like
know,
a god there.
It's Christmas.
What do you do when you're out touring? You're out, like you mentioned Japan. I know you've seen the world. You're in Europe a lot. What do you do on your downtakes? You know, the time between.
The time between. Okay, those who know me, like I look for tacos all over the world.
That's actually totally true. I know.
It started with my bike. You know, at rehab after an accident, and I started going out for espresso, like in the morning. They just get me away from the hotel, get me away from my home and everything.
Yeah.
You know, and then it was like, well, I gotta eat something, and I don't want to eat heavy, so let me go to get a taco, because you know we used to grow up. You know, it's burrito town.
Yeah.
You know, San Francisco burrito town, right? You know what I mean? The Mission and so forth, and hanging out there. So I started doing that. But outside of that, now that I live in South Florida, you know, I can't surf because you got to go up north. So I started paddleboarding. So, you know, supping is my thing. And, you know, if I'm not on my bike or my motorcycles, you know, that's my thing. And I started with my daughter, and, you know, she's a pretty good supper. And, you know, because we can't go snowboarding unless we come here, and
Yeah.
and that's when we do. You know, when we get spring break and Christmas break, we come here and visit family and go snowboarding. But yeah, pretty much paddleboarding. And you know, I'm still one of those guys that I try to read manuals, you know, and I talk to my friends and, you know, tech stuff.
That is, you know, that's a 50-50 proposition.
You know, it's comical,
Most
man.
won't touch them until we're totally in the shit.
You know,
and
I
the
know.
other ones are like, know every word.
Yeah, but you know, of course, there's times, you know, I reach out to the great guys, again, the techs at Digico and Shure and things like that. And you know, you're just in the moment, and it's like, I know, but you know, you got to get it. But overall, you know, I think I pride myself on, like, so there's certain friends that know I'm either the guy to go call to for Digico, Waves, or like Reaper. You know, when you're on the road and you know,
Good
just
thing to be known for.
you're on stage. You know, like I was a friend of mine. He texted me like right as I was getting on the plane. I said, "Dude, I'm gonna try to help you." He was in front of like somebody on stage, and he goes, "Hey man, we got a Digico. We're trying to get Reaper going along with Waves." And I just got on a plane, and luckily, T-Mobile is like, you know, and I'm just helping the dude from the plane, and I,
sweet.
you know, and again, it was just one of those things that just try to help our friends, you know,
Well,
on the
there's
road,
that.
and
Yeah, but
you know,
you look like you might be a Digico guy. What's that shirt say?
you know,
Processing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because I'm between gigs, and so guess what's in my luggage right now is literally just gig clothes. So you know, I didn't know time.
No, and you represent, you know, you're down. The Quantum's a great product.
Yeah.
Digico's a great company.
Yeah.
We swear by the SD series.
Yeah.
You know, we rock because of the nature of our shop. Whatever the writer says. Is
No, of
us
course,
viewers
yeah.
sell it,
You
we're
know,
happy.
listen, and we gotta learn that stuff, right? You know, when you're in a shop, it's like, okay, can I get through, you know, a profile? Yeah, I can get through it. You know what I mean? You know, I know it, but is it my go-to?
No.
And it's only because, again, you know, at the time, you talking about the D show, SC48, and then, you know, the engines and everything like that. And it's just, again, this just became my particular,
place.
you know,
zip around
trust
it.
me, listen, I miss the XO4s and the Heritages and, you know, the Racks of Doom, but production doesn't always want to see that, and you're not going to always get that, you know? Okay, so say you go back to the one-off thing. You know, am I going to get a Heritage on a one-off? And, you know, the
It
Racks
happens
of
in
Doom.
weird times.
You know, you're not going to do that. So again, that's why we kind of, you know, pretty much embraced the digital age, right?
Yeah.
Is
True.
can you get most of this done in the box, if you will, you know, using a giant mouse, and for the most part, you know, you can achieve it. You know, is it everybody's sound quality? No, but again, you can get results. You can get a good results.
We had an
you know?
X56 in here recently, and
Yeah.
it was, you know, the preamps in that thing are sick. You know, it's
Listen.
just, you know, some things is hard to get better than.
Oh man,
And
the
but
gamble days.
yeah.
Oh
It was
man,
just like
I
number 6 EX56.
yeah,
So this
you
is
know,
you know,
I listen.
it was just fun having it, and messing with it.
I
Especially
totally missed those days too. But again, you know, when you're flying in and you don't, you know, you're not starting it on this coast and wrapping around back on this coast, and logistics and truck space and
No, well,
you know?
obviously that's where the first place it lost out to was real estate, right?
yeah.
Because like you said, you know, the rags and the friggin' board, six
Oh, man.
people to get a 3,000 up.
Yeah,
you know, and
exactly.
Somebody was probably going to get it hurt.
Yeah, giant power supplies, and you know what I mean? I mean,
The good old days.
okay, so I got a good one. So I just started. It was my first gig with Sean Paul, and we were in Aspen, Colorado, outside. It's like 13 degrees on stage.
Yeah.
This is you know, this is a Jamaican, you know, dance hall.
Yeah, Sean Paul.
Cat.
Yeah, I get it.
With dancers
this
and
is
booty
not
shorts
his
and everything,
normal,
and it's 13
weather.
degrees. So I had I think it was a 250 on stage. Sound check was amazing. They were literally ecstatic.
Yeah.
Again, first show with them, right? And there's a gentleman named Stewie was out front of house. He had a Heritage out front of house. And this is, you know, all wedges and side fills and everything. And everybody was just like super happy. So changeover happens, right?
Yeah.
We're about to go get the band on and everything. You know, tweak back up, you know, do the dial and memory dial scenario.
Yeah.
And you just hear this this spike of her frequency just go right through every wedge, every side. It just, and it just stopped. Console goes, poof.
Bricks.
Yep. So we play the game. Long story short, it's like power supply, power supply, power supply. Went to the local theater, got a power supply there, put it back, the same thing. At that point, it was like, what can we do?
Yeah.
You know? And this is on and on. Like, these people have been outside freezing and everything. And I just said, hey, have front of house, send something back to the side fills. I'll tweak out the side fills. We had the keyboard player had like a mixer with some speakers and stuff like that. We're sending like the drum cat like directly to this self-powered monitor. We're holding the blower over it and just get because it's triggering everything.
Yeah,
you know, it's these days, right? No,
Too
there was
cold, too hot,
there was
no.
that was the only playback was the drum cat, right? The samples on the drum cat. It was full live band. And we just made it rock, you know, what we could. You know, luckily Cats had amps on stage, and from that point on, they were like, they're like, you're the Swiss knife, you know, like you just made this happen. I'm like, hey man, I come from those old school analog days. What can we do to get through this?
Oh shit!
You know?
Yeah, the show must go on.
Yeah.
That's the last thing I was told.
Yeah.
And that's the one I'm sticking with.
Yeah.
You know? Listen, man, we appreciate you coming on the show. I got to ask you a question. From your point of view, you know, you've been doing this 30 years.
Yes, sir.
We saw you come up here in the Bay Area. You worked hard out, you know, played some great gigs. Certainly part of the system with George at the old Sound on Stage and some of the stuff we've done together. What kind of advice would you have for some of the young folks trying to get into the business? Anything that might help them be successful in a career in live production?
Yeah, it's funny that you even mentioned that, right? Because the other day, now we talked about like all the people that didn't make it back, right?
Yeah.
And I'm seeing all these new stagehands at different stages of their life come in,
Yeah,
and they're
right.
just
Me too.
standing around, don't know what latches are, and I just said, hey guys, I said, do you know how to wrap a cable? No. Okay. If you hang back a little bit, I'll teach you how to wrap a cable. You know, like right now is probably not the best time because we're trying to get either in or out. I said, hang back a little bit. And I teach everyone to, you know, and I try to get
technique.
Yeah, you know, you just try to give the love back, man. I've heard, you know, I've had other crew people just start yelling at people. I'm like, yo, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, and
give them a minute.
Better because you're yelling at them.
Right, and then here's the thing.
Yeah.
You're yelling at the kid on the in.
Yeah.
That may be the kid that's coming to do the out.
Yeah.
And so I recently had we did an in and an out just recently in Vegas, and guess what? 3 of the 4 that did the in with me did the out, and they knew what was happening then.
Cool.
You know what I mean? They totally remembered what I told them.
Yeah.
You know, just about something about how latches work, the spring latches.
Sure.
Just, you know, just the simple stuff. But then they knew, okay, hey, if I say hold up, we're going to go up on 3, you know what 3 is, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and it was just taking that time. And one dude goes, hey man, thanks, man. Everybody else yells at us, and you just were like, I go, dude, we're not, you know, none of this is brain surgery. We're going to get out. Everyone's yelling, you know, you're trying to get to the truck, but that hallway's full. Give it another 20 seconds. So I try to just give back when I get called in to just talk to younger people, as, you know, like the cats from the Warfield, man. I can't thank those guys enough.
Yeah.
You know,
nice
taking out the patience with me in the truck. You know, I never loaded a truck before going over there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and just kind of seeing what happened and getting in and you know, just having my wits around me, watching the OGs, learning what they're saying.
That's right.
You know, and just taking the
And then
time.
wait your-
You know, and then hey, I go, I'll just go this way. I'd say, hey, if you don't think you know what you're doing, just ask me.
Yeah.
I'd rather you ask me
That's right.
than to do something wrong and you hurt yourself or something else worse happens.
Oh man.
You know what I mean?
God.
So
there's a rule here. Nobody's allowed to get hurt. It's just not allowed. You have to get with me. We have to sit about it, map it all out. If you're gonna get hurt, then we can maybe discuss it. But I'll probably still then say you can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, it's good to get back to the youngsters.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, there's a group.
for the future.
There's a couple different groups I did with a couple friends on WhatsApp, and we just from COVID, and we kind of still stayed with it, where we're just sharing knowledge and gigs, you know.
smart.
And again, you know, someone's got a stronger suit here, someone's got a stronger suit there, and that's it's kind of like, you know, it's a lower budget of what you've got going on, and you know, Pooch and Raybo and those guys. So it's just amongst our little selves to go, hey,
man,
you know what I mean? Like, again, just
great.
giving back. And I commend you and all those guys that took the time to you know, give back in this downtime that we had, you know,
There were
and
some
then,
really great
you know,
moments there. Yeah.
again, it's the sad thing is not seeing so many of us really come back, you know, and surviving.
It looks like we lost about 20-25%.
Man.
Yeah. And some of those were retirements.
Yes.
But
No,
some
of
were
course.
just went-
That's what I'm saying. However, we lost them. You know what I
we
mean?
lost a batch to some,
yeah.
you know, like they went IT, or they,
Yeah,
you know, especially
exactly.
some of the younger hotshots.
Exactly.
You know, they could.
Exactly.
But you can't begrudge them for that. But it has made it interesting and challenging.
It definitely is those two things for
Yes,
sure.
absolutely.
And then some.
What's next for you? What are you doing next?
Tomorrow, I mean, I'm at the airport at like 4 a.m. here in SFO. We've got the closing of World Games.
What is it?
World Games in
no
Birmingham. Yeah,
Okay.
Alabama. So, yeah.
It should be fun.
Yeah.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
It's really great to get to hang out with you. I haven't seen you forever.
Yeah, I know, man.
You
It's
look great,
just
buddy.
awesome.
You're keeping care of it. Sorry about having to bust your balls about Florida, you know.
No, hey, listen.
Come on, you know.
I bust myself. My daughter was busting me the other day going, Daddy, okay, like, she goes, I get to hang outside and then go inside and not smell like outside. You know, I mean, you just go outside and get the mail, and she goes, yeah, you were outside. I go, yeah. Like, all right, yeah, I'll go take a shower now.
So
you know,
weird.
listen, the Bay Area is just the best weather. Man.
We're really lucky here.
You know, as I was telling them, hey, I go, see the fog, how the fog rolls in. I go, I love that. I cherish that.
That's pretty great.
You know, when I used to ride my motorcycle at like 4 a.m., just riding through just the city, just to ride.
That's
through
actually really
man,
fun.
I can't do that in Florida.
Yeah.
You know?
No, there's nothing really there to do it like.
No, man. We were in Santa
different.
Cruz coming down the other day, and I just missed that ride.
Oh,
You know, it's just
17
all
and all that.
flat over there, man. And I don't do the Everglades thing. So I stay saltwater.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Great to see you, man.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you guys for having me.
You're the
Got
best.
to meet the beautiful lovely lady over there, so it's
Great, Lorin
it's awesome,
White,
man.
guys.
You know,
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
It's our pleasure.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
And travel safe, you know?
Trying.
Yeah, do your best with it. I know that the airports are crazy right now.
That's another reason why I fly early.
Yeah.
Get me out early.
Yeah, that's really smart.
Get me out early.
strategy.
I'll sleep on the plane.
Yeah.
Or,
That's
you know,
really
whenever the
good
gig's over.
You certainly hear that's a lot. That's actually they're recommending.
Yeah,
Get in
yeah.
here early. The likelihood of actually having, especially if something gets canceled, there's a likelihood there's a very
Listen,
soon.
you know,
Yeah,
you can be
rerouting.
put on something else, or
Yeah.
you know,
that goes.
you know,
well.
almost
Those get
guaranteed to get
worse
out.
through the day. Yeah.
Exactly.
Travel well, man.
Yeah, man.
Take care of yourself.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I do this every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I do it for you. I have to really thank my wonderful guests for coming in, and this beautiful, incredible angel. I love this
so
woman.
proud of you.
Baby, you're the best.
You're so good.
I'm so
This
crazy.
legacy project of yours, it saved you.
Oh,
And you know,
man.
I've never missed a show. Never missed
You're
a
very
show.
sweet. That would be probably about 107 to 10 shows, something like that. You're very sweet. Thank you for supporting me through this whole
Love
thing.
you.
I love you, darling. Thank you for coming on the show. It was absolutely our treat. What a wonderful delight. Next week, we've got a real heavy, hold on tight for this one. I'm doing a month worth of research just to write this show, which will probably go into 2 shows. It is the Jeffrey Cox Spectacular, the one and only Jeffrey Cox who designed VDOS. He's pretty much the reason we run Line Array. He's Cox Audio. He is a legend in the game, and he is coming on next week. You should come and see it. It will be interesting. He has got stories. Talk about a guy who knows where all the bodies are buried. It's Jeffrey Cox. He'll be here next week. Until then, you guys be well, behave, and be good to each other. Good night.